That was exciting, weren't it, folks? Introduction. Can you turn the volume down on that, please? Welcome back to the Bailey Workshop. What are we doing here? What are we doing here, Carol?
It's Wednesday.
Oh yeah, it's Wednesday. Workshop Wednesday. Play the titles, Carol. Workshop Wednesdays, what you gonna do about it? Workshop Wednesdays, haven't got a clue about it. Workshop Wednesdays, what you gonna do about it? This. There you go, write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. Who else does that then? Apart from just me and Dennis Waterman. Isn't it? If you're wondering about Only Fools and Horses, it's not Rodney singing in the theme tune, so we don't count Rodney Trotter. It's just me and Dennis Waterman and Little Britain. So anyway, what are we doing here? Yeah, Workshop Wednesday. So lockdown special. We're all on lockdown, so you can only drink so much tea, can't you? I guess we all need something to do, so I thought what I'd do is try and inspire a few of you. Some of you who maybe think it's impossible to make a guitar. What I'm going to do is prove to you that it is quite possible, and even a numpty like me can do it. So if I can do it, pretty sure you can. So the title of this video is Part 1, Where to Start. Where to start? Well, we start on the neck. That's the short answer. On the fretboard, to be specific. That is the extremely short answer. So if that's all you wanted to know, you can stop the video now. But if you stick around, I'm going to actually make some sawdust later on. That'll be fun, won't it? That'll be fun, won't it, Carol?
Well, that's why everybody's tuned in.
So we're going to make some sawdust, right? Let's get that out there straight away. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a fretboard. Some of you might have seen me do this before. I know that quite a few of you watching have actually been on the course. But I'm aiming this video at people who've not done it before and they think they might not be able to do it for whatever reason. So we're going to go through as many reasons as I can think of why you might think you might not be able to do it. These are all things that people have said to me over the years. I can't do it because of whatever. So we're going to go through a few of those things, and then I promise you, before we finish, I'll be making some sawdust. In fact, I'm going to make a fretboard right before your very eyes, folks. Live on the internet. So, this video is mainly going to be about how to get started, right? How to start. We're going to start by making the fretboard. So let's get a poll in early. I did a YouTube poll yesterday to see if you guys wanted to watch me build an electric or an acoustic, and to my surprise actually you all voted for an electric. So that's great for me because that means we can do it a lot faster. Obviously an acoustic build would take probably a bit longer, but it takes about 3 times longer. So I'm going to build for you over the next few weeks an electric guitar from scratch, from raw timber. So I think it's probably going to take about 6 to 8 Wednesdays. So book it in your diary, every 1 o'clock Wednesday, 1 PM, guitarmaking.co.uk. You're welcome to come to the Bailey Workshop here, and I'm going to show you how to build a guitar. So this video is mainly going to be about how to get started, and I am actually going to get started at some point. So what I want to know is, right, first of all, let's chuck a poll out there. ebony or rosewood, folks. So this guitar is going to be kind of designed by YouTube, let's say. I'm going to make the decisions, right? I've got the last choice on this. I'm having the last say,
What
right?
about the name? Chris McConnell said Corona Cast.
The Corona Caster. Right, so yeah, we need a competition for the name of this guitar, and also I'm going to let you guys choose a lot of the elements. So we're going to start with the fretboard. So over the course of the next hour or so, I want you to vote for ebony or rosewood. So let's go through the ins and outs of it, right? If you were making a guitar at home, for your first guitar, I would recommend rosewood, with one exception. Can you hear that? See, if you ever want to tap tone a piece of wood, hold it a third of the way in and a third of the way in. Hold it with just the tips of your fingers, so you're trying not to hardly touch the wood at all, and then you can tap it. You'll get a nice tap tone. So rosewood, I think, is acoustically superior to ebony. Let's give ebony a tap test. You can kind of ignore the pitch, really. What we're listening for is the quality of the sound, the sustain. If it sounds nice as a piece of wood, it'll probably sound nice as a guitar. Having said all that, I prefer rosewood as being acoustically superior, and it's easier to work, so that's why I recommend it as your first guitar. There is the one exception. If you're planning any kind of intricate inlays on your fretboard, tree of life, you know, that kind of thing, you're probably better off going for ebony, because when you inlay it, you get a much crisper outline. I'm not going to be able to go into full detail on every part of this guitar build. I've already done that. I've filmed a guitar making course called Build Your Own Electric Guitar, and the link for that is in the description down there. So I've decided to give away the first part of it is free. The first 6 lessons are free, and that is basically everything you need to know to get started. So between now and next week, folks, that is your homework, right? I want you to watch these 6 videos. They're only between 3 and 10 minutes long. They're very short videos. But it basically gives you an introduction and then an overview on essential tools for guitar making, wooden parts for your first guitar, all the kind of things that you really need to know when you're first starting out. So that's the first part. The first module of my course is completely free. If you want to carry on with the rest of the course, then you have to become a premium member. So you pay every month, and then you can watch as many videos as you want. We've also got other courses on there, Build Your Own Acoustic, and loads more coming. So once you're a premium member, you can watch all the courses on a monthly basis, or you can sign up for a year. So you could probably build a guitar. Well, I know for a fact you could build several guitars in a month. Here on the course, this guitar that I'm, the basic guitar that I'm probably going to build, takes 5 days. So if you sign up for a month, then you'll easily be able to build your first guitar. And that might be all you need to get you started.
If you're in lockdown, sure.
Yeah, lockdown special.
There's a guy called
We've got a
Martin.
question.
Martin Geisman says, "Oh no, I missed the poll, and I was hoping you'd build an acoustic." Poor Martin.
So we've got another vote for acoustic, Martin. Don't worry, Martin, because it's probably good just as well actually that we're going to start with an electric, because it's so much faster. So if you stick around, then it won't be too long. I'm going to do an acoustic guitar next. So maybe in 6 to 8 weeks I'm going to start on making an acoustic guitar. I also do a live stream on the first Saturday of every month So you might find some acoustic guitar stuff sneaking in there. Also, I might put the odd little bonus section in on our workshop Wednesday. Who knows? If you've got any specific things you want to know, Martin, about acoustics, then head over to the guitar making site, and there's loads of information there. What was the other thing I was going to say? Yes, making electric guitars and acoustic guitars, we're using a lot of the same skills, so the skills are transferable. If you learn how to make an electric guitar, then you can use all the same skills really to make an acoustic. In fact, there's actually less power tools when you make an acoustic guitar, more working by hand with chisels and that kind of thing. So there aren't really any extra methods with making an acoustic guitar except for really carving with a chisel. Maybe a few extra things like the neck joint's different. Obviously the design on both courses, there's a design section where you start with a blank piece of paper and I take you right through the process. Most of the design work on an acoustic guitar is on the inside, so I'll show you all the ins and outs of the bracing patterns, etc. But that's all on the acoustic course. If you head over to guitarmaking.co.uk, click on the courses and then the acoustic course, you'll find that all there. I take you through the whole process, hours of material, skip through it at your leisure.
So Tony in Australia is saying side bending, so I'm guessing.
Yeah, so side bending, that's another acoustic guitar building question. Yeah, you're going to need something to bend your sides. So if you're making acoustic guitars, there's an extra video called Extra Tools for Building Acoustic Guitars. So you need the essential tools and then you need some extra tools. Both videos are there on the website for your enjoyment. But I just want to reassure you guys that you don't actually need to spend a fortune. So let's move on to that then. Main objections.
You want an update?
Carol's going to give us an update. Go on then.
Eben-
Right, we've got 4 votes for Ebony, 5 votes for Rosewood.
Because Parsnip Finger's wife's wife doesn't count.
Why not?
It's his wife's wife.
His wife's wife.
He said he said
I'd like to meet her.
His wife's voted for Ebony and so's her wife.
Wow.
But that's
No, all wives count, Carol.
Yeah, well, it's still 4.
All wives matter.
They can't have 3 votes. All wives matter. They can't have 3 votes.
So who's winning? Rosewood's winning.
It's Rosewood.
So 5 Rosewood.
Oh, Martin said Ebony.
Oh, we're equal.
It's equal now.
What are we going to do if it's a draw?
Oh,
Obviously,
Roland,
I get to choose.
Roland says Satinwood.
Satinwood. Yes, now that was an option. Here's your Satinwood. That was an option, Roland, but I did think about building your guitar for this, but I thought better of it. Main reason is you were right about the wood. The body wood is actually dry and ready to work on, but the neck wood, it wasn't ready. So I wasn't ready to start on it. So we're going to use some other wood. So sorry about that. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer until your wood's dry. Sorry.
Are the fretboards not dry?
No, we're going to give them another couple of weeks. We're going to give those fretboards another couple of weeks as well.
Oh, James Perry's in the house and he says Ebony.
Hi James. Hi folks. It's good to see you all. Thanks for joining in, by the way.
Ebony.
Much appreciated. So we're going to do a few of these little polls as we go on the build, and we'll leave you with a cliffhanger at the end. So like I did a poll on YouTube, electric or acoustic, I'm going to leave you with a poll at the end to choose what neck wood we're going to have, alright? So stick around till then and then I'll show you what the options are. Right, what are the objections? Why people think they can't make a guitar? Give us your ideas, folks. For most people, obviously, the biggest issue is money. and then the next thing would be a space to build. So let's talk about them two things.
Can I just, is it okay to ask you a question? Someone asked, it's actually, I think it's Darren, Darren King, what body?
Hi Darren.
What body are you going for?
I don't know yet, Darren.
We're going to come to that.
Yeah, I don't know what wood I'm going to use for the guitar yet, except it's going to be rosewood or ebony on the fretboard. I didn't even know what I was going to build yesterday. It was going to be an acoustic or an electric. So at least we know it's going to be an electric guitar. As you know, we always start with, well, you might not know this, some of you know this, but when I'm making a guitar, I always start with the fretboard, because I can use the fretboard to mark out the neck, and then I can also use it to mark out the body. So it's a handy thing to have. It's kind of like everything comes from the fretboard. So we don't need to choose the bodywood yet. I'm going to have a dig around in my wood room and see what I can find. Maybe next week we'll choose the bodywood. Okay, let's see.
And can I just tell you a couple of things? Martin said that if there were any options, he'd vote for Purple Heart.
Purple Heart.
How do you feel about Purple Heart? We haven't got any fretboards anyway.
Purple Heart.
No, it's not a vote because that's. And then the other thing is.
I like Purple Heart, but it's not as nice as rosewood. So we'll stick with these options. What are we going to do with this guitar as well, by the way, when it's finished? So we need ideas for that. Ebony or rosewood? Get your votes in now. We need a name for the guitar. Let's have ideas for a name. Corona Caster's winning at the moment. I think Corona Caster might just take it. It's not going to be Boaty McBoatface or anything like that.
No.
I'm going to reserve the judgment to choose, just in case. So we need a name for the guitar. We need to know ebony or rosewood, and what was the other thing? We need rosewood or ebony.
Think about the body for next week. No?
Yeah, something like that. So can I get on with my little thing? What I'm going to do?
Answering one question before we move on.
Go on, question.
Roger Appleby is asking.
Hi Roger, welcome back.
He's asking what the difference is between a Adirondack spruce and spruce. He said between a Adirondack.
About 50 quid probably. Okay, so when it comes down to wood for, you're talking about acoustic guitars again. It's weird, all the questions have been about acoustic guitars, and now I'm going to build an electric. Hey, but we cater for all tastes.
Got some other ones.
So maybe I can grab a soundboard. A couple of random soundboards just that were close at hand. So I'm being asked what's the difference between Adirondack and normal spruce. Well, normal spruce, there's lots of different types of spruce. Adirondack is a type of spruce. So well, I usually use Sitka spruce. It's got a kind of reddish hue to it. It's very it's the loudest of the spruces, I think. Possibly with the exception of Adirondack. So again, not all pieces are equal, so one piece of Adirondack might not sound as good as a standard piece of spruce. I would, if possible, always tap test. Tap testing will also, you'll hear a rattle. If there's a split or a shake in the wood, you'll hear it rattle. So what's the difference is, it's probably all in the ear. Depends what you like. Yeah, Adirondack's probably a little bit louder, complex tone. My personal favourite is Sitka. Finger picky stuff. This is cedar, which is softer, you might be able to hear there's a little split in this one. Let's see if I can show you it. What's more important is the integrity of the wood. You know, you want to make sure you've got a good piece. By a good piece, I mean it hasn't got a split in it. Can you see that split? Drawn a pencil line around it. Let's see if we can hear it. I usually hear them before I can see them. I don't know if you can hear that rattle. But that tells me that this piece of wood is probably not so hot. Now, truthfully, when I've cut my guitar shape out, I'll be cutting that split off. So I'll tap it again and it'll probably sound perfect. I'll be cutting the split off and it'll be okay. I guess you spend your money, you get what you pay for. Adirondack is probably touted as like the ultimate guitar top, but it is kind of all in the ear of the beholder.
Another quick question someone's asked. It was James. You know James.
Yeah.
He's James Perry. Set neck or bolt on? That's the question for next time.
Set neck or bolt on?
Is that a question?
I was wondering that as well. What do you guys think?
Is that going to be for next time?
Shall we have a poll on that as well?
Next time or today? You need to know today.
Let's make that the poll at the end.
Okay.
Right. Because it kind of really decides. If you choose a bolt on, then you would normally use a maple neck. Now you could make, that's like a Fender style telly neck or a strap neck with a fretboard on top, or without the fretboard, even just a one-piece neck. So if you make a bolt on, I would highly recommend maple. I don't recommend mahogany for a bolt on neck. It's just a little bit softer and the neck screws can come loose. It's more likely to break. I don't know, it just doesn't seem, it's just not the natural choice, whereas maple is, it's a lot stronger. Maple's the natural choice for a bolt-on neck. So if you guys choose bolt-on neck, probably end up with something like that.
Can I just go back a bit? Matt Tomon, I guess he's referring to the top. Was there a split? Was there a wee split in?
That would be a set neck, by the way. Set neck would be a 2-inch blank. So if you're making a guitar, a bolt-on you need a 1-inch blank. A set neck you need a 2-inch blank. And that's the same for an acoustic guitar as well. Question, Carol, sorry?
Matt Tomon said, I'm guessing he's referring to the bits that you were showing earlier.
Yeah, with the
Was there a
split. Yeah.
So he said, can you glue that split? Can you fix it?
Yeah, sure, you could glue it up, yeah, for sure.
There's an idea for another workshop, isn't it?
Given a choice between two, you would obviously choose the bit that didn't need fixing. Because you also never know what's inside a guitar. I've had guitars. I had a guitar fairly recently where, see how thin the top is. Well, the guitar looked perfect. We finished the guitar, we sanded the guitar with fine sandpaper, and it went into the finishing room, and our Billy gave it one last whiff with 320, and a little mark showed up on the wood. So we sanded it again and the mark got bigger. It turned out it was a shake in the wood. A shake is an internal split. You can't always see it on the outside. But if you sand it, you sand into the split and discover that the wood is split internally. That is not a good day at the office. So again, all you can do is repair it. So what we do is we run glue into the split, glue it up, and it's all as good as new really, but it's not what you want to find on a guitar just as you're about to spray it. Because those little splits, they will they will rattle and potentially make noise, which could be picked up by the pickup or something. Cause a weakness which could cause the top to split or something. Anyway,
But to bring it back then, there's an interesting, people discussing bolt or set,
yeah.
Which somebody said they think bolt-on's easier, and I said, well, I think you think that the set neck is. So can you just discuss that briefly?
All right, I'm just going to say one more thing about soundboards, right? The quality of the wood is more important than the species. So a bad piece of Adirondack isn't as good as a good piece of Sitka spruce. What we're really looking for is the number of lines per inch. I'm not sure if you can even see that, but we're looking for about 18 to 22 lines per inch for spruce, and then you know you've got a good piece of wood. It needs to be quarter sawn so the grain is vertical. A nice clean piece is what you're looking for, something like that. That goes for all pieces of wood, whether it's a fretboard, a neck, or any old piece of wood. What was the...
So this is a good start to what you can do. So is they're debating what's easier for a beginner?
What's easier to make, a bolt-on or a set neck? Yeah, like Carol was saying that I used to say set neck. To be honest, I don't think there's anything in it anymore. It doesn't really make that much difference. It swings and roundabouts. There's some jobs that are more difficult with a bolt-on and some jobs that are more difficult with a set neck. So it doesn't really make much difference nowadays. We use the same truss rod. We used to use a different truss rod, but now we use the same one in both styles of guitar, which is this one. This is our two-way adjustable truss rod. All this stuff's available from guitarmaking.co.uk. We do the fretboards, blanks, and also pre-made fretboards. If you are building a guitar at home, one of the hardest bits is the fretboard. And so I say, especially if it's your first guitar, there's no shame in buying a pre-made fretboard. Here's a stack of our pre-made fretboards. I'm just about to show you how we do it. I do have a video if you want more in-depth how we do it, then go to the website and sign up on the courses. But here's some fretboards that are ready to go out, different scale lengths, all available on the website. These are pre-slotted, tapered, so it's thinner at the nut, wider at the last fret. They're tapered and they're also radiused, so there's a radius on the front. All those are options which are selectable on the website, so you can choose not to have a radius. If you want anything that's not an option on the website, then you can just email us and ask. For instance, if you want 22 or 24 frets, that's handy for us to know. If you wanted a particular width of the nut or at the end, because we make them to order, then we can do that. Same goes for the neck wood if you've got particular dimensions that you need, or even the body wood. Just get in touch and let us know what it is you're looking for. I've got a whole room full of wood. The stuff that we've got on the website is really just the tip of the iceberg. Obviously it takes a lot of work to get all the stuff from the physical world onto the online world, so I've selected only the very best, choicest stuff, especially if you're building your first guitar. Okay, to make it easy as well, we've got the whole kit, so you can just buy the kit, and that includes everything you need, right down to the last screw, piece of wire and capacitor, to build a guitar completely from scratch, following my instructions. So what's stopping ya? Not got enough money? Yeah, that was my problem when I started as well. So basically, if you beg, borrow and steal, or don't steal, but beg and borrow, put the word out there that you're really into building guitars and you want to build guitars. Watch my video on essential tools. You'll be amazed how few tools you actually need. You do need a couple of big ones, a bandsaw, like the smallest bandsaw you can buy is good enough, and a router. The cheapest router will do. It doesn't have to be expensive. The more you spend, the better you'll get. But you don't have to spend a fortune. You'll need a bandsaw and a router and a few hand tools. I go through it all in the essential tools video, link in the description. You don't need an awful lot. You'll be amazed if you put the word out there how much stuff people will give you. People will say, I've got this thing that I've never used. Can you use it? And you just say, yes, I can use that. Don't take it if you can't use it, but if you've got an idea how you can use it, take it. Half my workshop is full of stuff that people have donated because they'd rather see it being used. So yeah, watch that Essential Tools video and make a list of what you need. In fact, if you go to the website, you can download the free patterns and plans, and that includes a checklist where you can just tick off the tools as you get them. I promise you, you don't need a whole lot of tools. You do not need a massive great workshop full of tools like I've got, although it does help. Basically, the more tools you've got means you can do things quicker. So I always say you can either spend more time making a tool or making a pattern to make your life easier, or you can spend more money buying a tool or buying a pattern to make each job easier. So every job we do, you can probably buy a specialist tool for, but I came from a background where I had literally nothing, so I had to build up from nothing. I had a lot of knowledge because I used to work in a guitar factory, but to put it into practice, I had to slowly build up a collection and work out how we were going to take factory methods and make them doable on a bench or a table at home. So you will need a few tools. Check out that video, Essential Tools for Guitar Making. Make a list of what you need and tick them off as you get them. Let us know if you get stuck. I've got loads of tools. I might even be able to send you some if you get stuck. So the other thing you need tools. You also need a place. Now, I've done it in Carol's kitchen before, but you do get a bit of dust in the soup, and whoever's kitchen it is might not be overly impressed. So kitchens aren't ideal, but it can be done. All you really need is you need a table or a bench that's fairly solid that you can clamp things to. We just get an overhead shot, Carol, and I'll show you my bench. I've got a blanket for when I'm working on finished guitars, but underneath my bench I've got a skin of MDF which I replace every year. So this just comes off. It's just a thin sheet of MDF. Back to the other camera, Carol. It's like 6mm MDF. I've just got a full 8-foot sheet, and I've skinned my bench with that. That means that if I drill through into the bench, then I'm not damaging the actual bench, just the skin. So you can actually do it on your dining room table. Yeah, I've done it. Just don't tell whose table it is. You might get in a lot of trouble. Ask me how I know.
Do you remember little Chris at his house? He did it all in his kitchen.
Yes, I've met a few guys who've turned their living rooms into workshops. Caravan, that's been done. A caravan, a shed. Obviously, a shed is ideal. But if you've got a spare room, you know, a lot of guitar makers work from their house in a spare room. It's ideal. Ideal because it's already heated and nice and dry environment. So a lot of guys' houses are already centrally heated, which is perfect for guitar making. So you need somewhere to do it. Your house, spare room, shed, caravan, your mum's dining room table, and you need some tools. I'm not going to go through them all now. Got a video at the risk of repeating myself again and again. It's all in the description. So there's about 6 videos that I want you to watch before next week. Guitarmaking.co.uk, go to electric guitar making courses, and you can watch the first 6 videos, and that gives you all the background information you need to build your own guitar. Okay, building myself up now for some action. Have we got any more questions? Have we got any more questions before I make some sawdust? I'll have a swig of tea while you have a think about it. Ebony or rosewood, folks? Ebony or rosewood? Name for the guitar. We need a name for the guitar.
Well, I think at the moment, I think that I'll put, I think rosewood. If we can't count the cat and the dog. So at the moment, I think it's 6.
Why can't we count the cat and the dog?
They can't vote, can they?
Whose cat is it?
Well, we've got.
How does a cat? This cat's got its own.
Cat.
Well, has the cat got its own YouTube account?
No, clearly.
Well, it doesn't count then, does it?
Now, some people,
You need your own YouTube
Tony
account.
started voting again. He's saying
Sorry.
Ebony. So actually, if we take the dog and the cat off, it's actually even. It's even again.
Even Stevens. Ebony, rosewood. Rosewood's purple, ebony's black. Ebony's harder. If you think about it, every classical instrument on the planet, violins, double basses, violas, ebony fretboards. Well, they don't have fretboards, do they? They have fingerboards. So it's a fingerboard until you put frets in it, and then it's a fretboard. So we don't have fingerboards, folks. We have fretboards. All right? Unless it's a fretless bass, and then it's a fingerboard. I'm not a luthier either, I'm a guitar maker.
James Perry just voted 4 more times. But I think.
Are we going to allow multiple votes?
No, not that, but I think if we take the cat off and the dog off. Yeah, I think actually it's ebony. If we take the dog and the cat off, it's ebony.
What about with the dog and the cat?
Actually, it's still ebony, isn't it?
Still ebony. Right, so it's ebony, folks. You've chosen. The internet has spoken.
James Perry said, "How about ebony?" Like the first time.
Right, James, you're a winner. And everybody else who voted for ebony.
Oh.
All right? Now, I don't feel like I've allayed your fears enough. In fact, I feel like I'm preaching to the converted, to be honest.
But
most of the guys on the comments are already guys I know that have already done my course and are already building.
but some haven't built at home.
Some of you haven't built at home, Carol's pointing out. So
Oh, and Eddie
maybe I
Laurie-
can convince you to have a go.
Eddie Laurie's just come on. Mark, Eddie, acoustic Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. Eddie Lawrence is online.
Laurie.
Eddie Laurie. So I'm making him an acoustic guitar. So that might feature in some of these live streams. There's your sides, look. Pair of them. Give you a quick update, shall I? There it is. Look at that. Look at that, folks. It's It's not bad, is it? I'm pretty sure that's yours, Ed Laurie. It is, isn't it? Yeah. So it sounds really high pitched and tight at the moment because the braces are still square. I haven't carved the braces yet. That's where you dial in the tone. That's where the magic happens. We'll get to that one day. So yeah, it's coming on, isn't it? The back's made, the sides are made, the front's made. I need to just start gluing it all together now. So it's looking good. It's coming on. We're looking good for June. So I think, is it your birthday in June, I think, or something? We're getting it finished for June. That's the plan. Cool. Yeah. I'm inside the guitar.
I'll make some sawdust.
Trapped in the guitars again.
Thanks, it's looking good.
So,
we've got another name suggestion for the guitar that you're about to make the fretboard for.
right, another name suggestion for the guitar. Go on.
The Isolator.
The Isolator. I like it. I like it. Did you hear the Johnny Depp and Jeff Beck cover, guys, of the John Lennon song Isolation? When I've finished, check it out. Or you can just put it on another tab and play it in the background. It's great. It's a great song. Great writer, John Lennon. Awesome guitar player, Jeff Beck. And Johnny Depp as well. Yeah, it's good. Trust me, it's good. So, yeah. So the guitar's going to be called either the Corona Caster or the Isolator. Yes. I like that. So we'll have a vote for that as well. Might even do a little inlay on it.
Corona Killer.
Yeah. Right, guys. The internet has spoken. We're going for an ebony fretboard. Yeah. Don't need that one then. Put that back in the shop. Right. When I start making this fretboard, I'm going to continue with no interruptions. Carol. I don't want to be interrupted.
No, I'll just write down the
I'm just going to
questions.
make this fretboard as fast as I can. Right before your very eyes, folks. I'm going to have to flit around the workshop a bit, so we'll do our best to follow with the camera. We're still working on getting the roaming cam sorted. Roaming cam isn't operable just now. The tech's letting us down. But at some point we're going to have a roaming cam which will follow me around the workshop, getting extreme close-ups of the action. Until then we'll just get normal shots, alright. So, ebony fretboard. I'm going to start any minute now. Sip of tea.
Been going 45 minutes.
Yeah, we've been going 45 minutes, so that's not bad. I did say this streams are going to be about an hour. Well, they're going to be between an hour and 2 hours long. This is part one, so it's going to be like an introductory one, really. And I'm making the fretboard. Next Wednesday, I will be installing the truss rod, which means I'll be doing part one of making the neck. So the neck I'm going to be splitting over 2 days. So next Wednesday, part one of the neck. Wednesday after, part two of the neck. Wednesday after that, we'll start on the body. Probably tech permitting, we'll do something like that, alright? I'll see if I can straighten my eyes out as well while we're working on it. So Carol's telling me to get on with it, I think. Are you saying get on with it? Right, get on with it. I'm going to get on with it in a minute. I'm just having a swig of tea.
They're all getting heady. They're all getting silly.
Right, are you ready for this, folks? Hit the share button for us. Hit the subscribe bell button, because YouTube's only it's only notifying about 3 people. Well, you lot, basically. So we need more viewers. We need more viewers. We need more people building guitars. Right, I'm going to do it. Here we go. I want you to notice how few tools I'm going to use as well.
I'm on overhead.
Yeah, we've got a blade.
Matt Thomas saying, please make dust.
Please make dust. Making dust. Making dust imminently. Right, we're going to go down to... Don't need my ugly face anymore. We're going to go down to there.
Need your mask as well.
Yeah, I'm putting my mask on, folks. Honest.
No, you are putting your mask on.
Right, there's my mask. Putting it on. I'll put it on when I need it, won't I? So, here we go. 1 fretboard. We've got overhead shot as well, Carol. Can we have some good camera mixing?
Yeah, sorry. Can I
Right.
just say this one last thing?
Go on then.
Christopher Connell says, right, set out this fanned fret baritone.
Right, a fan fret baritone. Right, if you were doing a fan fret guitar, you just do 1 scale length down one side and 1 scale length down the other and join it up. You would decide which fret you want to be flat and then work from there. Line them up and work from there. Yeah, great fun. That has to be all done completely by hand. I'm going to show you how we make fretboards, but I will also shout out a few things of how you could do it by hand. I'm going to be using my machines. The machines only get me 70 to 80% of where I want to be, and the rest is all done by hand. So when people come on the course, they get to see the machines and the by hand method. Here we go. I'm going to mark the centre of this piece of wood. See if I can just get a closer in on that one. So what I do is I line up a nice round number like 100. I guess the middle and then I look at the edges, and rather than doing any maths, I can just line that up super accurate. No maths involved. Mark the centre. I'm going to do the same at both ends, marking the centre line. Mark the centre line. First job. All guitar making. With guitars, we always start with the centre line and we work from there. First job I'm going to do on this is cut the fret slots. This is double-sided tape. It's actually called exhibition tape or NEC tape. The reason we use this is it holds our workpieces when we can't use a clamp. And we don't use carpet tape, we use exhibition tape. It's a little bit more expensive, but it saves a lot of time because it comes off really easy after you've finished the job. I'm just going to pick up one corner. So with carpet tape I'd be there for hours trying to pick the tape off when I've finished. Now this is a fret scale template. You're not likely to have one of these. This is why my #1 selling product on the website is pre-made fretboards. There's no shame in using a pre-made fretboard. As I say, at least you know it's going to play in tune. And then, I mean, if you really want to be a guitar maker, then you can sell your first one, use the money to buy the tools to make your own fretboards. You can do all this by hand. I do have another video called Cutting Fret Slots the Hard Way, which shows you how to do this completely by hand, but I'll be honest with you, very few guitar makers do that nowadays. No sensible guitar maker would do that. I think, to be honest, I think if Stradivarius had a router, he would have used it, wouldn't he? So I use every tool that's available to me. So I've stuck my fretboard to the pattern. What I'm going to do now is I'm heading over to my fret slot machine. So you might want to zoom in on that in a minute, Carol. Can you see that shot there?
Yeah.
So here's my fret slotting machine. One day we'll get close up camera on here. There's a little notch in here, which is going to fit into a pin, and then I can cut my slots. Carol will see if she can get a better angle while I'm working.
When I'm on the Mark, can you just let them see what you were actually... Can you show them what's under that bit of MDF? The blade? Show them what you've done. Oh right, it's stuck down.
That's as far as it goes back. I'll try pulling the table back, see if you can see it. Can you see it?
No.
Yeah, sorry folks, not a very good view, was it?
No.
But I've got it all covered on the course. It's all covered in full close-up action online course, so yeah, but that's what it looks like now. Oh, I missed one. Yeah, always check. So there we go. That is my fretboard slotted. I've done the nut slot, although we might not need that. Might cut that off. It gives us the option as to have the nut slot or not. So if you choose bolt on neck, then we've got the option of having the nut. If you choose set neck, then we'll cut this piece off. So there's our fretboard. I've also cut 24 frets. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1, 22, 23, 24. 24 frets plus 1. So you want the number of frets and then you add 1 for the end of the fretboard. So we could make this a 22 fret, even a 21 fret vintage style. I'm going to offer that out to you guys as well, how many frets. So at the moment it could be 24 frets, but we might decide to make it 22. We'll talk about that when it comes to the time, why it would make any difference and all that. At some point we'll have to make these decisions, whether it's going to be 24 fret, 22 fret, etc., and many more, and I'm going to let you guys decide. So back down here, I'm now going to taper the fretboard. So they come kind of square, sometimes they're a bit narrower at one end. I'm going to make the taper, so it's obviously it's narrower at the nut end. So it's all done with magic, folks. Here's a pattern. So this is just made from scrap, and as you can see it's my standard pattern. It's got a standard taper on it. Here's one of my standard nuts, you see. So this is where the taper comes from. Comes from the nut and the bridge that you choose. So we're just going for a standard width. So I'm going to line this up with where it lines up with my pattern for the right nut width. This is adjustable for different nut widths, you see. I can just move it up and down to suit. Question?
Yeah, Tony Potter said, what was that little strip of timber for when you cut the slots at the end?
The last one was for the nut slot. What it does is it offsets the little pin by 1/8 of an inch so that I can cut the nut slot.
That was what that little strip of timber was for.
Yeah, let me show you the strip of timber that I put in. So it's got, like the pattern, it's got a slot, but then it's got another pin which is offset by 1/8 of an inch. So it allows me to cut a slot right next to one, just exactly 1/8 of an inch. I did it so that the nut fits exactly, just a nice snug tight fit. Perfecto. So that's what that was. Yeah, I'm sorry we haven't got a very good camera over there, but we're working on it. I'm going to cut the taper. It's a 2-stage process. A lot of these guitar making kind of cutting out jobs are 2-stage processes. So we do kind of like we do a fine cut and then we do a finishing cut. In this case, I'm going to use the bandsaw for a rough cut and then the router for a finishing cut. I've lost my blade again. Can't see my blade, can you, Carol? Lost it. You can rip this tape with your bare hands, but it's just not, you know, I haven't got the strength, to be honest. I'd rather use a blade. I don't cut on top of the wood because you don't want to scratch your piece of wood. I've got the bluntest blade in Christendom there. Same again, 4 or 5 pieces on the back of the fretboard. I'm going to stick this down to my neck taper pattern. I've actually got a mark here. The green mark there is where my nut lines up, as I showed you earlier. So this is the sort of fast version, folks. I can't really go into that much detail, but hopefully you'll get the gist. What I'm really hoping is that by watching me do this, you'll think, I could do that. And you'll realise that it's actually very doable, not as difficult as you might think. I'm going to line my nut up with the nut line. I'm going to line the centre up with the centre line on the pattern. So there's a centre line on the pattern, if you can see it. I'm lining it up with the centre on my fretboard. It's all pretty rough and ready, but it works. This tape is activated by pressure, so the harder you squeeze, the better it sticks. Give it a squeeze with a clamp. And now I'm going to head over to the bandsaw, Carol.
Oh, right. Okay.
Let's hope we can get a shot of the bandsaw.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, looking good. Right, a couple of things. Never ever run your hand past the bandsaw like that. You'll notice when I'm cutting, I'm keeping my hands as far away as they can possibly be. I actually rest one hand here so that I can't slip. And then this becomes a pivot, this hand, and then my other hand is doing all the pushing. What I'm going to do is leave about 2 to 3 mil of excess wood. That's a great shot, Carol, but my head's not in it. Do you want to go in either closer or further out? Go in closer. That was like all the holiday shots I ever took when I was a kid. Like, that'll do. Does that look alright?
Who needs your head? It's great.
So, we're going to leave about 2 to 3 mil. We don't need to cut too neat because that's what the router's for on the next job. Remember I said it's a 2-stage process. We do a coarse cut and then a final cut. This is our coarse cut. Helps if the bandsaw's switched on. Before I leave the bandsaw, I just want to tell you, obviously you always count your fingers before and after using every power tool. When the main thing, a quick tip I can give you when you're using the bandsaw is try not to dig yourself out of trouble. What I mean is, when you're cutting, if you find yourself wandering too close to the line, then pull it back and carry on. Rather than try and carry on forward and dig yourself out of it, don't do that. Just pull back and carry on. You'll be fine. There's no excuse really for crossing the line with a bandsaw, because you can just pull back and then carry on where you need it to be. It really doesn't need to be a very fine or neat cut, because that's what the router's for, as I was saying. So back to the bench. We've only got 2 more jobs to do, folks, and this fretboard's done. So I'm going to clamp it down to the bench for stage 2 of this operation. So we've got our fretboard is now sticking out a little bit, you see. I want it to be the same shape as my pattern. Now if you're canny, you've probably twigged that you could make anything. It doesn't have to be a fretboard. If you make a pattern out of some scrap wood, and then you double-sided tape your workpiece down to it, and you can copy it. You can make 10 of these if you want, as many as you want. Okay, hopefully we'll get an overhead shot sort of halfway through, Carol, so people can get an idea of what I'm doing. If you switch back and forward between the cameras a few times. So here's the router. Let's plug them in. Let me show you the cutter. So this one is a bottom bearing profile cutter. There's a bearing at the bottom. Bearing will follow the pattern, and the cutter will cut the shape. So this is a bottom bearing profile cutter. These are available on the website. I'm going to set it so that the bearing is guiding against the pattern, but it's not touching the bench, and then the cutter will cut the piece of wood. So I'll put my my grotty mask. It's getting a bit manky, isn't it? Put my mask on. Mask and goggles. Coronavirus has had me goggles, Carol. It's because they're transparent, you can't really see them. Right, goggles. Mask. Action. I went over it twice because I didn't quite get it the first time, but that's fine, you can do that. Not a problem. Let's take it off the pattern. I've got one more job to do. I wanted to just tell you, just for safety purposes, you never touch the router on if it's touching the wood. Never switch it on if it's touching the wood. So I moved it away from the wood, turned it on, and then I took my cut. Okay, so just be careful. If you're not sure how to use these things, then you need to get some help. There are courses available, for instance this one, or you can get some help, especially if you're under 16. You shouldn't be using anything like this. You need to get helps from your folks or someone who's over 18. Alright guys, see how easy it was though? I've always said if you can draw a straight line with a pencil and a ruler, then you can make a guitar. And I'm not joking, because most of the jobs is you're guiding one thing against another thing. That's when you're not rubbing one thing on top of another thing, you're guiding one thing against another thing, just like drawing a straight line with a pencil and a ruler. So if you think about it, most guitars aren't made by genius luthiers. Most guitars are made in factories by normal people like you and me, who turn up at 9 and go home at 5, and they do a relatively simple job all day long. What I've done is I've taken what seems to be a very complicated and long-winded procedure, I've broken it down into lots of small chunks, as you've seen. Mark the centre line, cut the fret slots, cut the taper, and now the last job is we're going to put the radius on the fretboard. Again, I've got a fancy machine for this, which I'm going to use, but you don't need to. You could do it by hand. Let me just allow me to just show you my fantastic radius machine, and then I'll quickly show you how you could just do it by hand. Obviously doing it by hand just takes longer. You can do everything that you can do with a machine can be done by hand, just takes longer. I've got another guitar maker friend, robwilliamsguitars.co.uk, not affiliated in any way. My friend Rob Williams always said that he reckoned he could make a guitar with a screwdriver, and he probably can, because he is incredibly highly skilled guy. Yeah, you probably could make a guitar with a screwdriver. You don't need to spend a fortune on tools, but the more you spend, the easier it is. I think that's kind of in a nutshell. So last job, folks. Follow me over to the Radius machine. Here it is. My Radius machine. Maybe we'll turn the mic around as well. Oops, Radius machine. Carol, that was a nice picture of your bum then. An overhead shot, yeah.
Oh no!
Overhead shot of Carol's behind there. Sorry about that, guys. Right, so this is what we call a linishing bout or a sanding bout. We call it a linishing machine is the proper name for it. This is an add-on. So I bought the machine, added on the swinging arm. In fact, one of my students, a guy called Dave Terry, made this for me. I drew it on the back of a fag packet while we were having a curry, and then he made it for me. I went down and collected it. Here it is. There's a vacuum thing at the bottom which the fretboard will stick onto, so that saves using double-sided tape every time. So, oh dear, it's not switched on. I'm going to switch my compressor on, it makes a lot of noise. And then I'm going to stick my fretboard on and go for it. Let's do it!
Let me get down this time.
There it is. Give us a second then, folks, and I'll show you how we could have done that by hand. Guys, you can buy or make a radius block. Cover that in sandpaper. Oh, it was dusty, wasn't it? Here's a longer one, look. Radius block. So you cover that in rough sandpaper. We can use double-sided tape again, or you can buy self-adhesive sandpaper. This is the gold 3M stuff. These are available from guitar maker suppliers. I'd probably be a good idea if I didn't list all the guitar maker suppliers, because I'm bound to miss somebody and annoy somebody. But any guitar maker suppliers should have something like this. Okay. So what you can do, if I just put the camera down again, is get your fretboard, double side it down to your bench or onto the pattern, and then you can just rub the radius on by hand. Takes a little bit longer obviously, but it is completely doable. You know, back in the day, that's how I used to work. I used to do everything with the very bare minimum tools. In fact, you don't even need the radius block. You can in fact do it just with a flat block. You'll see some guys using a plane to start with. I don't recommend that, especially for a beginner, because you can take chunks out. But what you can do is use really rough sandpaper, like 60 grit or 80 grit, on a flat block. Give us an overhead shot, Carol, please. And you can just use that and then this is a is that working, Carol?
Yeah.
A radius gauge. So you could just do it with a flat block and a radius gauge. Could even make one of these. It doesn't take a genius to work out how to do that. Obviously, if you spend the money, you get higher quality. I used to make all my own tools, but nowadays I find it easier to buy them because you get basically better than I can make. So we test test with the.
You've got time and no money.
Yes, exactly.
We do, isn't it?
Yeah, I had no money but plenty of time. So basically you just remove material where it's touching until you can approximate that curve. A bit more difficult, obviously, like I said earlier, it comes down to if you've got loads of money, you can make it a lot easier. You can always buy a tool or a jig or something to make your life easier, but you don't have to. So on my courses, I'm trying to show you the very basic, cheapest possible method to build a guitar, but I also show you what I do as well. So if you've got the money or something to aspire to. So there we go, folks. There endeth the lesson on how to make a fretboard. I could only give you a very quick overview. If you want the full details, go and sign up on the course and get all things like the thicknesses and depths of the slots and all that kind of thing that you need to know. Alright, if you don't want to make your own fretboard, head over to the site and you can buy a pre-made fretboard from us. As I say, I think that's half the battle, especially for your first guitar. There's absolutely no shame in buying a pre-made fretboard. At least you know that it's going to play in tune, and it's a great start.
Tony Potter's asking what radius you're using.
So my radius machine puts on approximately a 12-inch radius, so that's our standard radius. It's very easy to change it from that to another radius if you need to, so don't worry about it too much. If you do particularly need a different radius, you can specify that in the at checkout.
Why do you like 12?
12 inches just become the industry standard, really. If it was completely flat, it makes it really hard to do string bending. You'll find strats are more curved, more radius. That's good for doing chords and stuff. Also slide. The curvier it is better for slide. But 12 inches it's become pretty much industry standard for a lot of guitars, including Fender, Gibson, and Bailey guitars, the top three.
Chris McConnell asked a question ages ago, but I made him wait, right? And they're having a debate about, you know, the pins that we use to pin the fretboard down when you get to the next stage. What are they called?
Location pins.
Yeah, but what do you use? Because Darren suggested veneer pins.
Okay, so what we're talking about, guys, on the course, when I'm gluing this fretboard on, because it's already cut to the taper, and as you'll see next week, we're going to make the neck. So tune in next week, guys. If you've not seen that before, we're going to be making the neck, and I'll be doing a similar thing to the neck. So the taper's already cut. When I glue the two together, there's very little room for error, because if my fretboard slides and I end up with a big step on one side, we're gonna have to level it all off, and you end up with a neck that's narrower than intended. So we need to try and glue this fretboard on as accurately as possible. So what I do is I use pins. The discussion in the chat at the moment is all about the pins. We call them location pins. What we do is we drill two tiny little holes. We just choose a couple of frets and we drill a tiny little hole. It's all covered up by the fret at the end of the day, so it's invisible. We drill a tiny little hole and then tap a little pin through. And then when we come to glue it, we can tap the pins in just a little bit, and it stops the fretboard from moving about. I'll go through all that. It's probably going to be next week when I do that. If not next week, it will definitely be the week after that. I just use these little brass pins I bought a bag for 20 years ago. My bag's still a quarter full. Look. So I don't know what they're called, guys. The label's kind of like worn off. But it doesn't really matter. Any pins will do. These are just random pins. The important thing is that you can
panel pins.
Yeah, panel pins they're called. Yeah. The important thing is to find a drill that's the right size for them. Get a piece of test. Like for instance, I could test in the end of my fretboard there, and then tap a pin through just to make sure it's not too tight or too loose. And you tap the pin in through till it just sticks out the other side, and that's enough to locate your fretboard. There's a bit more to it than that, and I do go through it all on the course. A little bit worried about giving you just enough information to get yourself into trouble here, so basically any pins will do. You just need to make sure you've got a drill that's the same size. We're looking for about 1.5 mm, 1/16 of an inch or 1.5 mm drill. Okay, so we're up to 1.5 hours. The master computer's telling me. So we made the fretboard. You guys chose ebony. So let's set up the poll for next week then. Yeah, bolt on or set neck then. So are we going to make something like this? A bolt on neck. If we are, I would recommend that we use maple. Or do you guys want a set neck? Set neck like this, glued in. So a set neck just means glued in neck, for those of you who don't know. So glued in neck or a bolt on neck. So I'm going to set up a poll. As soon as we finish this live stream, I'm going to set up the poll, and you guys are going to have to vote. All right. So stick around. Look out for the post. You might need to click the subscribe button, the bell icon thing, because you might not get it otherwise. So guys, make sure you've done that. I don't want to be that guy on YouTube who's always begging for likes and subscribes and all that, so I ain't gonna bother with all that rubbish. But I want to do what you guys want me to do. I want to help you guys out as much as possible. That's what I'm here for. So if you've got any particular questions or comments, or if you're stuck on something, just let me know. All right, so you can either leave a comment, head over to guitarmaking.co.uk. There's a free community you can join, and we're all in there, ain't we guys? All right, so I think we're about done, aren't we?
Yeah.
I think we can wrap it up there. I'm gonna not burst into song this time, folks. That was an accident. Yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you might want to watch the last live stream.
Finish with the guitar thing?
Huh?
Finish with the guitar.
Yeah, I'm going to finish with a little film at the end. So, yeah, if you weren't there, on Saturday and Sunday, we were live streaming from the workshop, and I finished this beautiful handmade parlour guitar for Mike Abbott. Lewis came in yesterday and gave it its last polish. Look at that. So Lewis is is the guy who's doing all our painting at the moment. We do it all in house, but look at that mirror finish. Top job, Lewis. Look at that. There's a little sneaky view of my view of the workshop, and then the reflection. So if you want to see me finishing this guitar, just done that on the last live stream on Saturday. Go back and watch that. Don't forget to put your vote in for bolt on or glued in neck. Okay guys, that's it. Workshop Wednesday, another one done. What are you going to do about it? Workshop Wednesday, this.
I don't know how to do it.